thanks for being here. Ian, Michael, thanks for being with us tonight. And for the rest of you that I can't see, I appreciate you taking the time out of your day and or your evening. Up here, it's Friday night, 9 o'clock Central Time. On the East Coast, it's 10 p.m. So it's pretty late for everybody over there. And so hang on one second. We'll get this thing rolling. We're going to talk about the topic of high blood pressure, which, you know, it's a topic I like to talk about because it affects a lot of people. Katie, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello,
All right,
and
well,
welcome.
thanks for being with us again every Friday night, every Saturday morning for you down in Australia.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
And we're in our winter here in Melbourne. So, but it's nowhere near as cold as it gets in Fargo.
no.
But Roz is in. I saw Roz's video, and she's in Brisbane. She says, "Oh, it's a winter's day here, and it's 24 degrees, which is about 10 degrees warmer, or 10 or 15 degrees warmer than it is in Melbourne."
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, so they don't really have winters.
Yeah, you guys complain about cold, and you don't even know what cold is.
Yeah,
You could jump in your freezer, and it'd be warmer than it gets here.
yeah, I bet.
So anyhow,
yeah. Anyway, yeah,
we're having beautiful weather. It's hot, sunny days, and we're getting a little bit of rain showers every day, which is good. I'm looking out my window, looking at my garden, and everything is growing. The corn and the beans and the peas and the squash and the melons are all coming up. I like it.
So do you grow all your own vegetables?
I try to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not everything, like certain, like carrots, it's cheaper to go to the store and buy carrots than it is to grow them, so,
Right.
and potatoes and things like that,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
but so anyhow, Katie, well, you want to talk about high blood pressure today, and I was just going to say, we really can't talk about high blood pressure without talking about toxins.
Okay, good.
Right? I mean, because it kind of the two kind of go hand in hand.
All right, let's talk about that. I've got some slides, and
Okay.
so we're doing a general health information talk this evening. We'll be talking about the topic of high blood pressure, heart health. Kurt's going to touch on toxins, and we're going to talk about ingredients and lifestyle changes that you can implement to support health. So let me just share my slides here.
Hang on one second. Excuse me. So before you get into your slides, okay, you're already getting your slides going. But I was just going to say, yeah, we're not giving any healthcare advice. We're not diagnosing. We're not treating. We're not implying any kind of treatment, anything like that. If you feel that you have a high blood pressure, or if you have symptoms that you feel might be due to high blood pressure, contact your healthcare provider. We're not your doctors. I'm a doctor, but I'm not your doctor.
That's right. And I'm a health nutrition coach, and I'm not a doctor either. If you're unwell, if you have concerns, you know, with your blood pressure or any other health concern, do consult your healthcare provider, your doctor.
Yep. And the products that we're talking about, the ingredients we're going to talk about, this is our opinion, Katie and myself. We're not sharing the opinion of anybody else, the company, anything like that. And we can't say that products cure or treat either. So we just want to make sure that
we're actually not going to be talking about any specific products tonight. Okay, we're going to talk about ingredients and go through those. But
okay.
Yeah.
So first, let me say this before you bring up or if you want to bring up your title slide. I was just gonna say that, I've talked a lot about high blood pressure with people over the years, and one of the things that I tell people is that we have to look at what causes high blood pressure to begin with. When you look at high blood pressure, and what is blood pressure? You got the systolic and you got the diastolic, and what they basically are is, think of your blood vessels your arteries and your veins. Think of them like being the water pipes in your house. And you got a certain amount of pressure that pushes the blood through those arteries. And what happens is that when there's something obstructing those arteries, your body's built with a system that's got a lot of sensors. Like, think of them like computer sensors, and they sense that there might be extra back pressure. What ends up happening is then the pump, which is your heart, it beats harder to push that blood through.
Mhm.
And when it does that, that causes the blood pressure to go up. But what that does then is when the blood pressure goes up, the arteries are only built, just like the pipes in your house, they're only built to handle so much pressure before they start to burst, before they start, which we call an aneurysm if it's an artery in your body, or they get little tears in them. And so I was talking to a friend of mine today, and she had high cholesterol.
Right.
And her doctor talked to her about high cholesterol, wanted to put her on medication, and she started taking some natural products. And since we're not going to mention any names of products, I won't say what they were, but she started taking the products with resveratrol and brown seaweed extract in them, and her bad cholesterol, in a matter of 90 days, her bad cholesterol went down. And but what the doctors are really surprised about is that the good cholesterol, the good fat, actually went up. And her doctor said that she'd never seen that happen before. Her doctor said that we always see we tend to see the bad stuff go down, but we never see the good stuff go up. So she was really happy about that. But toxicity causes most toxins are fat soluble, Katie. I mean, you know that from being into nutrition. Most toxins are fat soluble. And so if you start getting cholesterol, right? Cholesterol is fat, right? Cholesterol is fat. And so if a toxin is fat soluble, it gets deposited in the fat. Well, since the cholesterol is in your arteries, then that toxin gets deposited in the cholesterol, and it starts to make the artery hard, which we call atherosclerosis. And I'm sure you've got some stuff like that on the slide. But when the artery gets hard, then that's going to cause the blood pressure to go up as well. And so it kind of turns into a vicious cycle. But it all started from those toxins getting deposited in the fat cell, or in the fatty tissue with the cholesterol. And so if we can lower the bad cholesterol, if we can lower the toxicity, it's certainly going to help with the blood pressure.
And did this friend of yours that was taking these ingredients, did she change anything else other than take the ingredients?
Actually, no, she felt like she was eating a pretty good diet. So that's the only thing that she changed. And it came under, everything came under control. I wanted her to get on, but she was busy tonight. I wanted her to get on and share her story, but.
Okay, great. Well, I think we can bring Ian across to the panel. He's going to share a testimonial tonight about natural ingredients that he's taken that has helped with his blood pressure. So if he is on the call, if you can move him over to the panel. But let me get into these slides here. We're going to talk about nitric oxide support this evening, or today if you're in Australia or New Zealand. Actually, and I really like to talk about this sort of stuff before we get into it. I'm trying to move this bar out of the way here, but so being a health and nutrition coach, I love to look at health and lifestyle changes that people can make before reaching for a pill or a tablet. And it's really great to do things in conjunction, use an integrated approach. And so this is a chart here with lifestyle advice and behaviors that can impact people's blood pressure. And this is, I'm just sorry, there's so many things on the screen. I'm just trying to move stuff out of the way. So yeah, this is key things that everyone, really needs to be aware of for optimum health. If you're on this call, if you're listening to the recording, you're someone who's really wanting to enjoy better health and just have a better quality of life from a health perspective, these are definitely things that you need to consider incorporating every day into your lifestyle. Obviously, the first one here is exercise. They recommend 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity exercise, or 75 to 150 minutes of vigorous exercise each week, and muscle strengthening activities on at least 2 days each week. That can be with weights or body resistance, or TheraBands, that sort of thing. So these are the guidelines that have come out. Waist circumference is really important, and weight control for blood pressure. That is a key factor in controlling blood pressure. You want to be in the healthy weight range there. Fruit and veg. This is my favorite topic, Kurt. It's really my new mantra for 2023 and beyond, is the 2 fruit, 5 veg every day. And it can actually be a big challenge to reach that every day. But, incorporating your fruit and vegetables in your diet is really important for so many reasons. It helps to maintain weight. It helps you if you're trying to lose weight. It helps with bowel movements. It can help with cholesterol, balancing blood sugar levels because of all the good fiber in there, and so many other things. But that's on there. And of course, smoking is definitely not good if you have got blood pressure issues, and not drinking in excess either, and having it within moderation is really important too. So healthy for men and women, drinking no more than 2 standard drinks on any given day for women, and no more than 4, for men and women, and no more than 4 on any one occasion. So these are some guidelines just to bear in mind, because, these are important things to incorporate into your lifestyle, especially if you, as I said, you want that optimum health. So Kurt, you want to talk on this slide for a second? I'm just going to grab some water.
You bet. Well, when we look at blood pressure, you got to remember that when they say 120/80, they took an average of blood pressure of healthy people, and they found out that 120/80 was kind of that averaged amongst the healthy people. So they set that as basically the norm. But now, if you're a really small person, if you're a really small frame, your blood pressure is going to be a little bit lower. If you're somebody who's in really good tip-top physical shape, your blood pressure is going to be a little bit lower as well. If you're a bigger person, your blood pressure is naturally going to be a little bit higher. So that's why they kind of say a range of 120/29 over 80 to 84, because it gives it kind of a range. But when you start having a high normal, that's when it's over 130 on the top number, and the lower number is 85 to 89, and mild high blood pressure, it starts getting over that 140 mark. And what that's basically saying is that there's 140 pounds of pressure inside your vessels when your heart is beating, and there's almost 100 pounds of pressure in there just when it's at rest. And just think about that. I mean, think about 100 pounds of pressure. If someone was pushing against you with 100 pounds of pressure, they'd push you over. And that's what's going on inside your blood vessels. And then you start having, a moderate, which is 160. To me, that seemed more than moderate. And then the severe high blood pressure is over 180. And I know people who have blood pressure that's over 200 and their top number. And it's ridiculous. I mean, that's way high. They're a heart attack. They're an explosion waiting to happen. And it's not just taking a medication. I think that people are convinced that they just need to take a high blood pressure medication, and that's not the only answer. I mean, yeah, you might need that blood pressure medication to lower it immediately, just so you can get everything else under control. Whether no matter what it is, you want to get that lifestyle under control, you want to get that diet under control, you want to get your weight under control, whatever it happens to be. So exercise helps, and definitely quit that smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. So this is where we come back to the previous slide. These are the things that you want to implement if you've got, issues with your high blood pressure, first and foremost. Really important stuff there. And, it's like a warning signal, isn't it, Kurt? It's like the red lights come on. It's like, when the red light comes on in your car, you're driving along and saying, hey, you're low on petrol. And you're like, oh, I'm just going to ignore it for a bit. And you can ignore it for a little while. But then if you keep ignoring it,
boom,
you're going to run out of petrol. And I used to do that all the time when I was really young, but I don't do that anymore. But yeah, so if there's a warning light and your blood pressure, here's a prompt, here's some motivation, inspiration for you to take action now. And if you would like a copy of these slides, of course, we're happy to send those to you as well. So we're going to talk about nitric oxide support and what it can do, how it can actually support workouts, recovery time, weight management, and sex drive. And the science behind nitric oxide in your system. Enhances your body's ability to absorb more oxygen and antioxidants. And it's important for normal body function because it's a signaling molecule and acts as a cue for other molecules to perform a myriad of body functions. So here we've got a slide about the Nobel Prize that was won in for physiology or medicine in 1998. And do you want to talk about these three gentlemen?
Well, I don't know anything about any of them.
Really?
I mean, they got the Nobel Prize, of course, because they discovered how important that nitric oxide molecule is.
Okay.
And yeah.
All right. Okay, so they're not a friend.
They
Okay, so yeah.
they look pretty scientific. They don't look like they'd be they probably couldn't carry on a very good conversation in a party situation.
Yeah, they look like they've gotten down to business there. But this is the prize. Yeah, this is the prize. So this is, you were talking about this earlier, Kurt, about, the pressure in the arteries. So do you want to talk to this slide here?
You bet. Well, take a look at that upper picture there. The nitric oxide, what it does is it opens up the blood vessels. Just a single dose of a nitric oxide will open up the blood vessels by 62%. I mean, you think about that, 62%. So a red blood cell is 6 microns, and it's some of these blood vessels, they can be closed up all the way down to 3. And when it gets down to 3, the red blood cell can't get through. And so really just a miracle molecule, is like they said in the Nobel Prize. So
yeah, amazing. And so yeah, you can see here that the dilation of the blood vessels and opening that up and how it affects it. So that's a good picture. This was an interesting article. I just thought I'd throw this one in. This came from the Dental Tribune, and it's on nitric oxide and how it impacts the airways, and it's been shown to have an antiviral effect. Did you know about this, Kurt?
I remember reading that nitric oxide was good for viruses back when COVID first hit. But yeah.
So and it can produce antimicrobial effects against bacteria, fungi, and viruses. So this was published in this Dental Tribune magazine, and that was when COVID hit, and they were talking about the benefits of nitric oxide, and that was from Dr. Minna Saha. Is that how you say?
Yeah, Dr. Mahar Shah, or I'd say yeah.
Yes, tricky pronunciation. Okay, so that was an interesting article. I just thought I'd throw in there. You might want to look it up. So if you did want to look it up, you could look up nitric oxide, and it's in the Dental Tribune, and it was in the news there for that magazine. But nitric oxide has been linked to improved cardiovascular health, obviously, as we've talked about the Nobel Prize that was given, and as being one of the greatest discoveries in history of cardiovascular medicine, and it's an essential molecule, and it helps the blood vessels relax. So we've kind of established that information. And now, have we got Ian with us at the moment?
I think I moved him over. Let me double check. No, he didn't get moved over.
Try again.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. All right, Ian, you should be getting an invite to move over to the panel. There you go. You should be coming over to the panel. All right, so there you go, Ian.
Okay, great. Because this is invited Ian, and he gracefully accepted. This is his testimonial about how he was able to reduce his blood pressure with taking nitric oxide ingredient.
Ian, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Thank you. Good morning and good evening to both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really an interesting exercise. As I was getting older in life, I normally get my general medical checkups every so often. Anyway, this time I went, it was probably in my 50s, and I suddenly realized that my blood pressure was a bit abnormal. So obviously in those days, they put you straight onto medical or pharmacological stuff to actually reduce the pressure. But unfortunately, with these things, after a while, they have a bit of a side effect, and that's what I didn't sort of gel with. And so over the time, I did some research with some natural products that may be able to help me either remove the medical stuff that I was taking. And I actually come across a product that had these various constituents with it, and one of them was that really was good was the fact is that one had a beetroot juice type extract in it, and I did some research on that. Anyway, I thought, well, I'll have a go at it. So I actually purchased the product and took the product for a while. Now there's a graph on the screen here, which is probably better than me talking too much about it, is that you can see there from the 2nd to the 4th, right through till the 10th to the 4th, that I took a graph of my diastolic and systolic, and you can see there that this product, not only with the beet, but it had other ingredients that also do have an impact on blood pressure.
Yeah, and we'll talk about those.
Even the B3 has an effect on your blood pressure in its fact that it actually instigates prostaglandins. But anyway, you can see here that from the time that I started taking it, you'll see that initially my blood pressure was, the systolic was up around 140. I mean, it has been higher, but on this time, I actually just graphed it for these particular days just to prove to myself that this product really did something. And it was very quick. Like you could take the product and within probably an hour, maybe even a little bit less, you could measure your pressure and you would find that it would be down quite considerably. And that was really good for me because I'm not a drug taker. I don't like the pills and things. So I found this and there was no real side effects with it. In fact, the product itself had other ingredients, which I believe Katie and Kurt will talk about, that have other attributes as well. So this is my little story about, taking a product that has these particular ingredients, which do actually help with your blood pressure. Now, with that in mind, you do need to take them a couple of times a day to maintain the pressure. So, but in essence, it's a brilliant product that I found, and I still take it to this day. I take other products as well. I think they mentioned before there was things with like Fucoidan and resveratrol and things like that. They are a really important aspect of my cellular strength. So, yeah, I can only promote this as really being a fantastic ingredient. So,
Fantastic.
All that, yeah.
And Ian, you recently, were participating in the weight loss challenge and lost quite a lot of weight. How did you find that impacted your blood pressure?
Yeah, it was really good because what I also with the weight loss, you find that my blood pressure was more easily controlled.
Right. Yeah.
And the other aspect of blood pressure too is you've got to be mindful of any stress in your life. I think that's important too because that raises your blood pressure up and down. Pressure changes over the day, so normally, but stress can be one of these insidious things that sit in the background and you don't really realize. But and I think what through this weight loss was the exercises that I was doing, just walking around, doing that sort of thing was really good for dissipating any of the stress you might have in your body. So weight was good, Katie. Weight loss.
Yeah, because and the exercise helps get rid of excess adrenaline and drop cortisol levels at the same time as boosting endorphins and your serotonin. So it has just such a wonderful benefit, and I don't think people realize all that. So yeah, so here we've got an interesting slide about nitric oxide. So it is an essential element that humans produce naturally. So we do produce it, but one that must be replenished on an ever increasing basis. Regardless of your physical condition, your level of nitric oxide does decline with age. And that's why another reason why as we age, we face more challenges, more health challenges, and a lot of people don't make the connection that their bodies are starting to slowly wear out. Things are wearing out, running out. And men at the age of 40 only produce 50% of the nitric oxide they did in their 20s. And women on average produce 35% at the age of 50 as they did in their 20s. So, having nitric oxide support in your lifestyle can make a big benefit. So these were some of the ingredients that Ian was just touching on here. Kurt, do you want to read through those ingredients there?
You bet. Well, you take a look at red beet extract, like Ian was saying, there's a lot of great studies on red beet extract. It's got L-arginine in it, it's got L-citrulline, and those directly move into your body metabolizes them into nitric oxide, and that helps with the exercise recovery. It helps out with sexual function. It helps out with a lot of different things, including dilation of the blood vessels, like we talked about, 62% increase the dilation of the blood vessels. Then on top of that, it's got the extract from long jack. It's got ginseng. Everybody's heard of ginseng by now, and then some different flower pollens, and then pomegranate juice. Pomegranate is considered to be a superfruit from South America, and it helps to release some free testosterone in your body, and that helps out with stress management. It helps you so that you have more energy, and you bet.
Yeah, fantastic. And so I've incorporated, so if you look up, the red beet extract. So this is from WebMD, medical website. It says that early research shows taking red beet extract for 2 weeks and reduce total cholesterol, low density lipoprotein, which is a LDL, or bad cholesterol, and triglycerides in people with heart disease, high blood pressure. So it said, drinking beetroot juice might help. But here specifically, they're talking about the extract. And so there is a big difference between taking a concentrated extract and getting it from the whole food. Obviously, you want to first and foremost get your nutrition from your food, but you can't go past concentrated extracts, can you, Kurt, that have been taken because, trying to consume that amount of beetroot as opposed to...
There's just so many things in a fruit or a vegetable, that you have to work, a lot of different things. And so when you're looking for that one specific extract, like we're talking about L-citrulline or L-arginine, you concentrate it, and then now you don't have to take very much. You can still drink the red beet juice, but concentrate the active ingredient.
Yeah. So we talked about the flower pollen. So bee pollen contains many vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, and have shown that it's linked to decreased inflammation as well as improving immunity, menopausal symptoms, and wound healing. That is a reference from healthline.com. We talked about the American ginseng. So some scientists believe that it enhances the immune system and it can help to fight off infection and disease potentially. And several clinical studies have shown that it does improve the performance of cells that play a role in immunity. So that's an interesting information about that. And then pomegranate, Kurt, you're talking about the benefits of this particular ingredient. People have talked about it as being a superfruit. So when you actually go to PubMed and look up pomegranate, there's lots of studies that come up in relation to prostate cancer, and that it can support people or patients, or men rather, with this condition. So there's some great studies on that particular ingredient, and you can go and look them up for yourself. So just really interesting information on particular ingredients. So you could see how if you combine them synergistically together, you could have a really beneficial impact. So this slide, we're nearly finished here. So we're just coming up to the half hour. Do you want to just talk through this one here, Kurt?
You bet. So, when you take and you combine the ingredients, what happens is that your body uses them to one to balance out the other, and to make it so that everything works together. And it's kind of like you've heard that, 1 + 1 = 2, but when you start adding different ingredients together, all of a sudden 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2 anymore. All of a sudden it equals 4 because it's got a multiplying effect. And so it supports better energy, and like we talked about, it helps with getting it so you can recover quickly when you work out, improved weight loss. It's been shown that when you feel better, you're going to lose weight faster. In libido for both men and women, L-arginine, if you look it up, they've made some L-arginine creams for women that were really effective. And then better immunity, because it's going to help boost some of the white blood cell count, and it's going to make it so that you're healthier that way too.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So that was the L-glutamine as well is in there. Do you want to talk through this one here?
You bet. Well, the pituitary gland is an important one. It's one that you probably don't talk about very much, but the pituitary gland is one of the master glands in your body, and it's capable of producing this human growth hormone. A couple of years ago, people were getting injections of human growth hormone, but they need that L-glutamine to help boost that human growth hormone, that HGH, and the plasma growth hormone, and it's just going to help your body. So you build lean muscle, you're going to build bones, you're going to stay stronger, you're going to stay more fit as you age. Like Katie pointed out earlier, around the ages of 40 or 50, we're dropping pretty significant levels of our nitric oxide.
Yeah. And that's just part of the aging. Yep. So we've talked about that, and Kurt's talked about bones, muscle, skin, hair, organs, energy and strength, testosterone and libido for supporting these things. Yeah, and the other thing is too, obviously it can help with, all sorts of things, body holistically. So, energy levels and vision, hearing, skin, hair, bones. So, yeah, really great information there. And hopefully you've enjoyed the presentation today. And I want to thank Ian for jumping on, sharing his testimonial about the ingredients he's been taking and how they've supported his health. Bear in mind the lifestyle changes that are recommended for optimum health that we've talked about at the start of the presentation. And and that's a wrap for today.
You bet. Well, Katie, thanks for being with us. Ian, thanks for jumping on and sharing your story. And for all of you folks that just jumped on to listen, find something new, thanks for being with us. Get back to the person that got you the video and let them know if you're interested or not, and give it a try. Boy, I tell you what, I as we were sitting here talking, I was looking at my bottle of the product that has all these ingredients in it.
Yeah, fantastic. All right, well, have a great weekend, and we wish you well.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.